So kind of let me lay this out for you like I would one of the students that I used to tutor in college, when they would really whiningly ask me why it's important to study history. History illustrates the themes of humanity, and when I was growing up, when I was a kid, my father was a great believer in the classics, so all of my bedtime stories were about Roman legions and German philosophers and I don't know what, because in the words of my father, because I believe most of our podcast listeners speak English and not Spanish, those who do not know history are doomed to repeat it. He doesn't actually sound like that, but he does have kind of a deep voice, and I have kind of a high voice, so that was my best impression. That was the best I could do. So banking in the United States, kind of complicated story. Maxfield and I were having a heated, well, a spirited discussion about the founding fathers and kind of what their vision was for banking in the United States, and we both agreed that we were both Adams and Hamilton fans. So if you're a Jefferson fan, I don't know what to tell you. But the real history of U.S. banking started during the Civil War in the United States. Do you wanna lead off with that, Maxfield?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things to just a general points to keep in mind is that banking is, it's really easy to vilify banking and bankers, right? I mean, these guys they just deal with other people's money, right? As I think is the famous saying, and they just get rich doing that. But what's really important to remember is that banking is a really critical part of the growth of any economy, right? I mean, really, there's only three variables ultimately that dictate economic growth: as labor, capital, and productivity. And what banks do is they provide capital, so they are really, really important. And so then, if you look at, well, I mean, different countries have different ways that their banking systems operate. And really, if you look at the United States banking industry, and you want to know, the origins of our current banking system, like Gabby said, you have to go back to the Civil War. And that's because before the Civil War, there were no national banks because, to kind of allude to that divide that Abby was talking about, you had the Jeffersonians on one side that were very opposed to big banks, big concentrations of money. And then you had the Federalists on the other side, George Washington, John Adams, and Hamilton, and all these guys, right?
Just in case you're curious which side of the line I fall on.
Yeah, I think we know. I think Gabby made it pretty clear where we kind of stand on this. Well, in the Civil War, all of that changed. National banks came into effect, and they came into effect because the North needed money. And really, the best way for a government to get money, and particularly at the time, was to go through banks, which would not only buy the bonds of a government, but then syndicate those bonds to other banks and to other investors.